Ladies and most gentlemen, today we're going to talk about allied races. More specifically, we're going to touch upon the highly anticipated snaky boys known as the Sethrak. So the Sethrak are a race of serpent people who reside in the desert area of Zandalar known as vol'dun. So ever since these guys popped up at BlizzCon and the idea of allied races came about, the community seemed to want these guys as a playable race in the future. The same can't be said about the Volpira, but that's another video for another time. So in this video we're going to go over the idea and execution of this race becoming an allied race, and we're also going to take a look at the game files and see if there are any clues regarding the possibility of this. So let's take a quick look at the skin color options and some of the animations for this race. So in the game files there are two models for the Sethrak. You have Sethrak Melee and Sethrak Caster. The only differences with these models is the equipment that they're wearing, and all this gear can be removed to just show a regular nude Sethrak. Well, I guess nude isn't the word. Are all animals nude? I don't even know. Anyway, as you saw, these guys come in 5 different colours, which in the game files are known as black, white, green, dust, and diamondback. Obviously after the diamondback rattlesnake. Beyond skin colours, unfortunately this race has no other customization features. I guess if they were to be added, it'd be nice to possibly change the pattern on them or the size of the tail, also some face options, even though they're always a bit lackluster anyway, and maybe stick some hair on them or something, but that's probably a bit too much. As you can see, there's currently only a model for male Sethrak. Well, I assume he's male, but we know from the past it doesn't take Blizzard much to make a female. Just move some bits around and there you go. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Or just make them genderless, that totally wouldn't piss off anyone. As for current animations, it pretty much ticks all the boxes for a playable race, only really missing some basic emotes and the dance of course. I'd be pretty satisfied if they added this dance. Just imagine them doing it. It'd be weird as hell, especially with that crazy look in their eyes. Another thing to add is that this model does not currently support gear, and after much discussion with the Discord, we've decided that it doesn't actually borrow a skeleton from any existing race. We did think Worgen, but it didn't quite match up, and possibly even Furbog, but I wouldn't say it was exact. But if you do know if they borrow one, be sure to spam it in the comment section 300 times so I get the message on how wrong I always am. There's also been some ongoing discussions with them wearing helmets over on Reddit. It all started with this great post here, and it was followed up by an actual response which made it seem pretty logical that they'd wear helmets similar to a Tauren or a Worgen, which makes sense to be honest. One easy discussion we could have is racial mounts. Now even from the first trailer of Battle for Azeroth, we saw these sneaky little snakes riding on a new creature known as a Crowlusk, and after playing through the vol'dun story and having eyes, it's pretty obvious that this is the mount that they would use as a racial mount. They are adding several of these mounts for players in BFA, but it'd be really cool to see an epic Swift version as their racial mount. I'll be pretty happy with it to be honest. They even use a pterodactyl as a flying mount, but really the question is who doesn't use them as a flying mount in Zandalar? They're bloody everywhere. Next up, we're going to talk about allegiances. Now I keep hearing people saying that the Sethrak are exclusively Horde and the Volpira are exclusively Alliance, but that simply isn't true. Here's a video of my alliance in vol'dun hanging out with a Sethrak. We're basically best mates. That being said, there are several Sethrak who are hostile to everyone, and I think it's no surprise that if they were to choose one faction, it would probably be the Horde, simply for their connection with the Zandalari and the fact that they're chilling on an island filled with Horde. But on the other hand, people say that they'll be paired with the Volpira, who have more links to the Horde, which would automatically make the Sethrak Alliance. But the whole discussion just gives me a headache, but just from looking at them you instantly think a Horde race. I just couldn't imagine one of these chilling in Stormwind for example. They seem more suited to the rustic aesthetic of the Horde in general, apart from those filthy elves obviously. So that's pretty much all I've got for the Sethrak as an allied race debate. For me personally, I'd love these guys to be linked up with the Volpira as an allied race later on in the expansion, and for the Volpira to be Alliance and the Sethrak to be Horde. It just seems right to me. Or maybe even make them both neutral races. It wouldn't be confusing at all. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on the Sethrak becoming an allied race, and whether you think they'll be better suited for the Horde or the Alliance. I'd love to know what you guys think. So before I go, I'd like to give a massive shout out to our amazing patrons and YouTube sponsors. You guys are awesome. And if you'd like to support the channel in that way, links are down below. So leave a like on this video if you liked it, guys, and subscribe if you haven't. I also have a partner Discord channel with over 3,000 members. Link is down below. And with that, I'll see you next time.